Greetings, everyone. Welcome to Before I Do, the show that covers what should be done before saying I do. This is for those of you who are single, engaged, dating, want to be married, or don't even know if you want to be married. You are tuned into the right place. Our goal is to facilitate courageous conversations on topics relevant to dating and relationships.
Now, this is intended to be interactive. I just had to break that up in syllables. Interactive.
Y'all
right?
South Florida people always want to dance.
You just made me glad I didn't clap. Interactive, right? So this is made to be interactive. So we want your call and response, your comments, your opinions, or even your questions. So make sure you post those because we will have some questions for you tonight. And our topic, what is our topic tonight?
Well, first, before our topic, my name is Walter Jennings.
Oh, that's right. You don't even know us, right? My name is Charmaine Jennings, and this is Before I Do.
And we are Couples Academy practitioners, so we're so excited to have you all here with us this evening. Our topic for this evening, we are talking about when love languages turn toxic.
Yes.
And tonight we are talking about the love language, words of affirmation. That is my number two. That is my number two love language.
I have to work on that one. I think I have to work on that one.
I mean, we hopefully all of us will learn some things tonight.
Absolutely. After this show, we will be stronger, wiser, and better, right? Mm-hmm. And so we just want you to know that, first of all, the 5 love languages, they became an important tool for having effective communication in relationships. And just some background about it. This concept came from Dr. Gary Chapman in his book called The 5 Love Languages, The Secret to Love That Lasts. And so we are talking about the different, and it really talks about the different ways to express love. We know love is not just a noun, it's not a thing, right? It is a verb. It requires action, it requires interaction, right? And so in all of his research, he came up with 5 different ways in which we express love, and we enjoy and definitely largely like to receive love. And so what we want to do is we want to make sure that as we are talking about these love languages, there's a spectrum. When they're good, they're good, right? But there is often times where they can become toxic. And so tonight, that's what we want to kind of disclose. And we want to make sure that we're not using our love language to exploit people or to pretty much to use them. We want to use them for good.
Absolutely. So one of the things that the founders of the Couples Academy, Danielle and Hassani Pettifer, like to say is that we have to do marriage the right way.
That's right.
And so even with love languages, we have to do our love languages and administer them the right way. And so it's not enough to just know what your or your partner's love language is, but to make sure that we have a firm understanding of those things that are healthy. And so it doesn't become toxic on both the giver side and the receiver side. So as we mentioned, there are 5 love languages. And ironically, words of affirmation is the only one that is actually tied to physical language. It is the only one that's tied to physical language. Now think about that. Now it's probably the one that's the most visible because of how much we use words. Now we know studies show that on average, women use anywhere between 15,000 to 20,000 words a day, and men use anywhere from 8,000 to about 10,000 words a day. And if you've hung around and lived life long enough, you know that is definitely true. But the question is, how are we using our words? Are we being effective? The other thing is that people don't recognize that communication is only 35% verbal. So the majority of your communication is being done non-verbally. Your facial expressions, your body language, those are the ways that people are actually getting the majority of the messages from you. But because of words, that is oftentimes what takes the center stage of what we think people are getting from us, when most of the time it's all of those other things that they really are seeing.
Absolutely. And so we're gonna provide a definition of what does it mean to have a love language that is really words of affirmation. So we know we have words and we know we have affirmation. So what does that look, feel like, and sound like, right? So words of affirmation, they are words that communicate your love, your appreciation, and respect for another person. They're positive words and phrases used to uplift someone. What's more pretty much their compliments. There's words of encouragement, and anything that you would say directly to a person to really provide them, that form of appreciation. It could be a handwritten note, or it could even be a phone call.
Absolutely. So people who give and receive love through words of affirmation, they tend to be the people who notice and care about the details of other people's lives. Those are the individuals that when you walk in someplace, they'll notice that you change your hair, or that you got a different outfit. Or for those of you who like to change your lipstick, they notice that you have on different lipstick, or they'll remember that you have a child that just went off to school, or you've had a spouse that just changed jobs, and different things of that nature. So they're very observant when it comes to other people. Now, as we mentioned, it's also one of the easiest love language because it involves something that we all engage in every day, which is oral communication, or communication in general. So, and it's not only the words that we speak, but it's also written communication. So when we talk about words of affirmation, when you send someone a card, when you send them a thank you note, those things are tied to an individual's love language as far as that category of words of affirmation. And then one of the things that's very important to remember is that what you say in front of people is doubly impactful. I think you should ring the bell for that. So now what that means is that if you say something positive for someone in front of someone else, more than likely what you'll find, right, is that other person will chime in and say something nice about them as well. Whereas if you say something, absolutely. Whereas if you say something negative, that other person that's there may not say anything, but now there's a double form of embarrassment, because that individual who is now the recipient of those words, they are now not really sure how that other person may feel. And so they may feel a doubly intact, both on the direct side and indirectly from that individual that's a part of that. So we have to be very careful when it comes to dealing with individuals whose love language is words of affirmation, because they are very, very in tune with the audience as far as with people that are around and listening.
All right, so let's go to our first speak now, forever hold your peace question, which is,
what are your favorite compliments? So for those of you who are words of affirmation, and you don't even have to be a words of affirmation, whether it's your love language or not, everybody loves getting compliments. So question, what are some of your favorite compliments that you like to give? What are some of the things that people have said about you that you really appreciated, that you've really taken to heart? And what are some things that you really love hearing people to say about you? You have any favorite compliments that you like to have people say about you?
To be honest, most of the comments that I like to hear really involve people who really get to know me on a personal level. So it's those compliments when people say, thank you, you're so helpful, or thank you for, helping me to stretch my thinking on that, or man, I learned so much from you. To me, those are some of the best compliments. And if you don't already know, I'm an educator, so I love helping people to grow in their thinking, things like that. To me, those are some of the best compliments, helping people think, help people learn, and just helping them learn something new. But it's nice too sometimes when you have that day where when we're talking about the physical, right? It's nice when you might have woke up that morning and you didn't really feel very good at all, and you just kind of threw something together, and someone's like, "Oh my gosh, you look so amazing," and you're like, okay, like I don't even know if I really believe it as enthusiastic as you do, you know what I'm saying? But because you believe it and you're enthusiastic about it, and you know what, I'm gonna believe that I look good too. So sometimes to me, those are the best compliments on those days where you're just like not even really paying attention. You just kind of throw your hair together and you put on an outfit, and somebody just feels like you were just glowing that day. And so that's kind of cool when you least expect it.
Yeah, for me, I really enjoy getting compliments about like physically, to be honest. And I don't know if that makes me shallow or not, but people saying, especially because I love cologne. So like people being, "Oh, you smell nice," or "Oh, I really like what you have on. I like that shirt. I like that suit." Or
Because you're fashion forward.
Absolutely.
You take time.
I put work in. So I do enjoy that. But obviously things that are affirming on the professional side, as far as really appreciate the way that your intelligence. I appreciate you being a part of the team. Thank you for what you bring to us. That's really important, as far as to be empowered and knowing that I am contributing to the success of an organization or a team. So really important for me. So once again, our Speak Now question of the night is, what are some of your favorite compliments? What do you love hearing people say about you? If you would, go ahead and put those compliments and things that you have loved to hear in the chat.
Yes,
we're going to take a quick commercial break, and we'll be right back with more before I do.
Welcome to the Couples Academy app. The Couples Academy app is your go-to hub for how to do marriage right. Get started with our app today by perusing our amazing features that conveniently allow you to connect. This app is packed with powerful content and resources to help you grow and stay connected. With this app, you can watch our messages, find marriage resources, watch, listen, and read the real-life stories of restored couples, sign up for events, read articles and blog posts, stay up to date with push notifications, share your favorite messages via Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, or email, and download messages for offline listening. For more information about the Couples Academy app, go to couplesacademy.org.
Welcome back to Before I Do. We are talking about toxic expectations with a special emphasis on the words of affirmation, which is one of the 5 love languages by Dr. Gary Chapman. And so coming back, before we went to break, we asked you, what are your favorite compliments and things that people say about you? Let us know. We want to know. All
right. Cooking and Conversations with the Poet says, I love how you dress. Thank you for encouraging me.
Yes.
No doubt. Yeah. And same thing. I really love when people compliment my dress as well. And also too, I'm an encourager as well. And so, and the thing is, oftentimes people who are encouragers, I used to get a reputation for being a brown noser. And I was really hurt by it, because it's like, I'm not looking for anything out of anyone when I compliment them. I'm just being who I am.
That's right.
And what I realized is that I was complimenting everybody. Like I wasn't just complimenting the people that were supervisors.
Right.
I wasn't just complimenting the people who I had something to gain from. I was complimenting everybody. So,
but you know what? People will often sometimes accuse you
right.
of not being genuine.
Absolutely.
And operating and walking in your purpose.
No doubt.
And so you're an encourager. That is largely a part. That is your fingerprint. That is largely a part of who you are.
Absolutely.
And so that's why I said, when people compliment me on, oh man, you stretch my thinking. But I learned something new today. As an educator, man, I'm walking in my calling if you learn something from me, or if I'm stretching your thinking. So sometimes, you can't allow people to discourage you when you know you're operating in your most authentic self. And so, yeah, you just have to know that you're being genuine to who you are.
Absolutely. And that actually leads right into our first topic, as it relates to being how these being with words of affirmation can turn toxic to the receiver. These are the individual that words of affirmation is their love language, how it can become toxic. Number 1, refusing to believe and accept the positive affirmations and what people are telling you.
Come on.
It is very important that you affirm yourself first. It's going to be hard for you to receive. It's going to be hard for you to receive and accept from other people words of affirmation if you not only are not believing them, but if you are not giving them to yourself. So it's a sign of insecurity when you don't believe that you are not worthy of those affirmations.
It's nothing worse than really telling someone, wow, you're so beautiful. And man, or if you're in a romantic relationship with a person saying, man, I love you. And this person is listening to everybody else.
Absolutely.
And they're insecure in the relationship, asking everybody else, hearing the whispers of everybody else. Well, why he with her? Why he dating her? She's not even cute. Well, she's not even this and that. And your ear is tuned to everybody else's voice, and you're not even paying attention to the person that you're in a relationship with. And I mean, there's nothing worse than your partner saying, look, I love you, but I can't convince you of that. And until you start loving yourself, then maybe you'll be able to believe that I love you.
And I think here is also a good point to talk about the difference between truth and fact.
Come on.
So facts are related to circumstances.
Information.
So you could absolutely, for example, be sick or be in a situation where, based on your condition, it's a fact in that moment, but that does not necessarily make it the truth. So when you receive an affirmation, what you are actually speaking is tied to your principle and your value, the intrinsic things that are related to who you are and your characteristic. So we have to be careful that we are not refusing to believe the truth because of the presence of facts and because of the situation or the condition that we find ourselves in.
That's right. And depending on who you're talking to, they might be speaking to you, to your natural, but they also, your spiritual being, they could be speaking to your spiritual man and woman. And so that's very powerful as well.
Absolutely.
All right. Another one. So if you are the receiver, right, of words of affirmation, they can become toxic. They go from good to toxic when you become angry for not getting your affirmation, the affirmation you want. So let's say you're seeking. This is when you're like craving, oh my gosh, I have these shoes on and my shoes match my shirt and my purse and my accessories, right? And literally you went through the entire day and like nobody gave you a compliment that day. And like you're almost like livid, angry, kind of have an attitude, like, because you didn't get the reactions or responses that you want. This is when words of affirmation becomes toxic because you didn't get those intended outcomes, then it becomes a problem. And it goes back to this. When we have unspoken expectations or motives, we really set people up to fail, right? Because you're really saying that you're expecting them to be psychic. And that's gambling. That's like gambling. And literally, when we think about gambling, only like to win the lottery, only one, that the probability of you winning the lottery is 1 out of 42 million. So the probability that your partner you're dating or you're married to can read your mind, right? Like, I just got this fresh haircut. Like, I know she's going to say something like, oh my gosh, I'm looking great. And you don't get a compliment that day. If you're the receiver of words of affirmation, that can be a problem.
Yeah. And that goes right back again to what we just talked about, is you being able to affirm yourself. You look good. You know the effort that you put in to look. You have to be able to appreciate you, and also being able to appreciate exactly the compliments and the affirmations that you are getting. You don't want to disregard the words and the efforts of others because you're not necessarily receiving what it is that you would like to receive from them based on your expectations. And the last one, number 3, are twisting and misconstruing compliments or affirmations. So this involves what Charmaine and I like to call the 3 T's: time, tone, and text. So the right timing, making sure that we are saying things the right way, and making sure that we are utilizing the right words when it comes to words of affirmation. So when individuals are sharing words of affirmation and compliments with us, being able to receive them at face value, rather than trying to twist those words into, well, what do you mean? Well, oh, you look nice. What you mean I look nice? I don't look nice every day.
Exactly.
But rather than just accepting and receiving the compliment for exactly what it is, taking it and twisting it and turning it and misconstruing it to potentially mean something else that eventually will become toxic.
Absolutely. And it is a big deal, right? We were talking about how when it comes to communication, sometimes, there's certain individuals who use 20,000 words a day and others who use 10,000 words a day, right? But in those words, it's amazing how from someone's mouth to your ears, they can say something, and then by the time it gets to your ears, you process it and hear it completely different.
Yes.
So that's why the tone is important. It's a difference between saying, I love you, and like, I love you. And you're like, well, who else you love? How many other people you got love? And it's like, really? We really having an argument about this? So it's important to make sure you are not twisting people's words or, misconstruing their tone and their word choice as well.
Absolutely. And once again, we're talking about the receiver. So these are the individuals that words of affirmation is their love language, and being able to receive those words in a way that is going to be conducive and healthy for them. So we're going into our second question, our Speak Now question of the night. Now, we talked about the compliments that you love receiving.
That's right.
Now, question, what compliments do you receive do you have trouble accepting? Or what compliments or words of affirmation do people tell you that you struggle with believing and receiving?
Come on, y'all need to tell the truth now. I'm already telling y'all to tell the truth, right? And I ain't told my truth. I really, I guess different seasons in my life, and for me, it really depended on where I was. But there was a time, for example, after having children, where I just did not feel I didn't feel pretty. I felt like literally just a mama factory, because I'm nursing and I got this extra weight on me. My clothes aren't fitting right. And physically, I just don't feel like myself. I don't feel beautiful. And so it was hard for when people gave me a compliment to say, oh, you're so beautiful. And my head would kind of go down, my eyes would. It would be hard for me to physically form the words "thank you," and there were times where I'm like, "Oh my gosh!" Thinking about it after the fact, I would really try to combat it, be like, "Oh no," or I would say no, or I wouldn't even receive it. And I look back on those moments, and I'm like, "Wow, was this person even? Did they see the beauty? Were they speaking to what they saw and just my whole situation?" They could have been saying, man, you're so beautiful. Like seeing me with my children, seeing me operating in my capacity to them was beautiful, but I couldn't see. I was looking at the external. I was looking at the fact that my body felt like it was just belonged to my children. And when people say things, it is so much deeper than the surface of a word.
Right.
Beauty is not just attached to my curves and my shape and my face being put together and my hair. It is the beauty in the role that you're operating in right now, your capacity, your gifts, there's just so much more. So we have to make sure that we're really taking the time to process.
Yeah, so I am coming out of a season where when it comes to my job, I have really been more invested in the result than the process.
Okay.
So because things haven't necessarily turned out the way that I thought that they would in a particular project or with certain assignments, I have been beating myself up and not feeling worthy. Whereas I'm getting all of these compliments about the creativity of the process and the way that things are being done. And so I haven't been able for a long time to receive that compliment because the outcome hasn't looked like what I thought it should look like.
Because it wasn't flawless.
Because it wasn't flawless. Because it wasn't perfect. Because the product and the end result didn't look like what the initial plan was. And so for me, getting those compliments about the process, getting those compliments about you're so smart, we appreciate you, you're really creative, we love what you bring. It had been hard for me to receive it, winning awards and having all of these great things that are happening, but feeling so unworthy. Because just as we talked about, my expectations and what I was focused on was on the end result rather than being able to appreciate the process. So for me, that's been my challenge as far as with being able to receive the compliments from other people. So put your responses in the chat. We are going to take a quick commercial break, and then we're going to come back with your responses. And you are tuned in to Before I Do. right, good evening, everyone. Thank y'all so much. Welcome back to Before I Do. Tonight, we're talking about when love languages turn toxic. And tonight, we are focused on words of affirmation. Our Speak Now question number 2 was, what compliments or words of affirmation are hard for you to accept? And we got some comments that are being blown up in the chat right now. Natasha says, yes, self-validation is key. Nina says, thank you so much. This is so needed. Wish I had you guys before I got married. And then she goes on to say, my hubby does not take compliments from me well. Okay. I don't know how to get him to hear my heart. So here's my recommendation to you, Nina. The first thing is, do not stop complimenting him. Make sure that you continue to do that, because even if it seems like he's not receiving it, he's still hearing you. That's right. And you've got to trust that. So continue to do that. The second thing is, I'm not sure if you and your husband have ever taken a love languages test, but it's really quick. It's really easy, but it's important for the two of you all to do that, because it sounds like you may be speaking to him in your love language. Yes. And that's something that's so common, where common. We love and we're seeking to connect with our spouse in our language, rather than knowing what their language is and then trying to connect with them in their language.
And Nina, we are guilty, right? The first few years of our marriage, Walter would say, he would question if I loved him. And I'm like, okay, we 5 years in. I don't know if you love me. I'm like, okay, we 10 years in. Really? You don't know that I love you? But my love language, primary love language was and still is acts of service. And so I would do things for him. I would do things for his family. And for him, it was like, she don't love me because she don't say it. And so I had to learn to start saying it more, right? Because I was expressing my love the way that I like to be loved. And that is very common in relationships, which is why, and it doesn't matter. Even we have married couples that still reach out to us. So reach out to us. Yes. We will do a full assessment of your love languages. Absolutely. We will help you to unpack each other in this life cycle, right? Because you guys are different in your 20s, your 30s, your 40s, your 50s, 60s, and stuff like that. So thank you for sharing that comment, and definitely continue to speak those words of affirmation. And and just definitely share your heart. But there's also a lot of creative ways to do that as well.
Absolutely. So, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead. So maybe it's not verbal, but maybe, and then what culture plays a role too. Did your husband grow up, and was that a common practice that his family expressed themselves in that way to each other? So culture plays a big role as well.
Absolutely. So, and that actually goes right into our conversation about the toxic givers, as it relates to when words of affirmation can become toxic from the giver standpoint.
All right. So pretty much, if I wanted to compliment my partner, it gets toxic when I start yielding to childishness, meaning I'm not thinking before I speak. Like, it gets to a place where I'm becoming reckless with my words. And so now, yesterday, I said, baby, I really love you. I appreciate you. This, and that. And then today, I'm saying, I can't stand you. You don't never do this and that. And you know what? You're just a dog, and you're just dirty, and you don't smell. Like, wow, which should my partner believe? Should he believe that I love him, I appreciate him, and you always take good care of me? Should he believe that, or what I said yesterday, or should he believe what I said today when I pretty much completely tore him down, right? And so we have to build each other up in our relationships. Yes, we tell each other the truth, but we have to tell each other the truth in love.
And the truth is, there is a child inside of each and every single one of us. And when we think about children, with children, it goes from here to here.
Yep.
It goes from here right out of the mouth. And so when we talk about childishness, we're talking about not filtering, not thinking through your thoughts before you say them. And if you want to see it on display in all of its vainglory, go on social media. When you go on social media, it is an outlet for people who just, this is who I am. I don't have no filter. Really? You don't think it's important for you to have a filter, to have some decorum, to have some prudence with the things that you say, instead of just lashing out and just throwing your words around?
Yeah, it's not being you're being reckless.
Absolutely.
With your mouth. And we understand this tongue is an instrument.
Mm-hmm.
It can be an instrument, right, to build up, right? Or it can be an instrument of mass destruction.
Absolutely.
It can tear down. And I'm sorry, but there is nothing less attractive than for my partner to, on one breath, oh, you're so beautiful, I love you, and the next breath you calling me out of my name. And then you want me to lay and play with you in the bedroom. Okay. And see, words are powerful, and they usually speak to really what's going on the inside.
Absolutely.
And so, yes, don't allow your inner child, that not thinking before you speak, being reckless. People say that a lot. Well, I was just in my feelings. Well, you know what? As adults, we need to self-manage, self-govern, and be mindful, because again, this tongue is an instrument.
Absolutely.
How will you use your instrument? For good, to build up, or to tear down?
If you are in your feelings, then make sure it doesn't come out of your mouth. There's a good principle to remember. If you're in your feelings, make sure that it's not coming out of your mouth. All right. So number 2, it becomes toxic for the giver when they are focusing on surface and not going deeper, when they are just concentrating on general and the external rather than the specific and the unique and the internal. Now, people like myself, again, I appreciate compliments about my dress and about cologne. Part of the reason why is because of the thought process that I put into it. But if my spouse is just complimenting me on the physical and on those things that are surface, and she's not really focusing on, you know what, I really like how you I really like how you put your outfits together. I really like the types of colognes that you pick out, because they really compliment you well. Those things are really unique, and they're specific, and they are a compliment to the way that I think. So it's not just surface level that we really want to key our words of affirmation on, but we really want to make sure that they are pointed in the direction of specifically highlighting the individualness of that person.
And the third one, of the toxic giver, when you're giving words of affirmation, you want to be very mindful of speaking, but not listening. Right? It is definitely, we are given one mouth, right? And 2 ears for a reason. And that's, I know, a proverb, right? So we can listen twice as much as we speak.
That's right.
And so we want to make sure that we are listening, because if you're a person if your partner, words of affirmation is their primary love language, you want to make sure that you're not committing that crime of not listening to them. Like, you do a great job talking. You're great with words. You sound very intellectual, and you really can put these words together. But are you listening? And so a person who talks more than they listen, a lot of times misses out on a lot of the nonverbal cues that we talked about, right? You're doing so much talking, and you're not even paying attention to the nonverbal communication your partner is giving you. You're not even paying attention to what they've said. And so we want to listen twice as much as we speak.
So the individuals who are words of affirmation as a love language, they also value listening. They value you being able to hear them and to also remember some of the things that they share with you and some of the things that they tell you. So it's not just about you sharing and communicating words of affirmation to them, but it's also taking the time to be able to listen to them as well.
Right. You don't want it to be a drive-by where you just like, well, I love you. And I mean, you're this and that, and you're great, and you're praised, and then you're gone. You don't even pause to see how they respond to it, what they say. There always should be an opportunity. Listening is an opportunity for us to learn. And so if you're talking and you don't do a great job listening, you're not learning.
Absolutely. So we had a comment, isn't that like gaslighting? Absolutely. And when we talk about yielding to being childish, it is absolutely gaslighting, which is that victim blaming, which is verbally abusing someone, really. and trying to get them to believe that it's really their fault, the pain that we're inflicting upon them. So it absolutely is like gaslighting. And Madonna says a person who talks more than they listen is selfish.
Ooh.
This is some good stuff. Absolutely. So it's really important that we listen as much. Actually, we should listen more than we speak.
Absolutely.
We should be listening more than we speak. All right. So we talked about these. So we talked about when words of affirmation turn toxic from the receiver side. We talked about it from the giver side. Now what we want to do is talk about some of the safety measures.
Yes.
How can we prevent words of affirmation from turning toxic? And this is both for the giver and the receiver. Absolutely.
And the first one is you always need to practice affirmations for yourself first. So the biggest thing is, you're feeling great about yourself. You're like, man, I'm loving my outfit today. Or maybe I wore a color that I used to think I look bad in, maybe the color yellow. And now I'm like, you know what? So some self-care, I'm going to take a risk and I'm going to wear the color yellow. Like, don't wait for others to compliment you. Compliment yourself. It is not a form of arrogance, but it is you just affirming yourself. Self-care is big in the sense that when we were younger, we had adults nurturing us, smiling at us, affirming us constantly. Now that we're adults, you are responsible for that literally yourself. So this is just a self-care measure and making sure that you affirm yourself first. Do not wait for others to affirm you.
Now, here's the interesting thing about that. If you are the receiver, when you affirm yourself first, what it does is it allows you to be able to receive those affirmations from individuals. When you are the giver, when you affirm yourself first, it helps you to be more apt to give those words of affirmation because you've already fed and filled yourself up. So again, that's the benefit on both sides as far as when you affirm yourself first. Number 2, practice empathy. Now, empathy is putting yourself in the other person's shoes. So if you are the receiver, put yourself in the giver's shoes. Put yourself in your spouse's shoes. Nina, you were talking about your husband. Put yourself in your husband's shoes. If you were him, how would you want to be spoken to? What would you want to be said to you? So it's very important that we put ourselves in one another's shoes. If you are the giver, putting yourself in the receiver's shoes, making sure that you're mindful of your time and your text and your tone.
And this is when really knowing your partner is a powerful thing in listening, because some people don't like getting words of affirmation or big compliments in front of large groups of people.
That's good.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
So one time, and I got to tell this little story.
Sure.
One time I changed my hair up, ladies. I don't know, I decided, okay, I'm gonna rock my little short, Halle Berry back in the 90s wig to work, cut, pixie cut, feathered, whatever. I walk into work, with my little boss lady, dress on, business dress. And when I tell you, the whole office like lit up, oh snap, wow, you look beautiful. I mean, loud. I was so embarrassed because I'm like, okay, thank you. And then in my mind, I was like, well, I know they're showing me appreciation. I smiled. I said, thank you. And I quickly went to my desk because I'm not one of those people that like loud, large, acknowledgments in a room. And so for me, it was like, oh my gosh, I could not get to my desk fast enough. I internalizing well, do I look busted every other day? Because there was this, but I had a drastic hair change and it drastically changed my look, and everybody in the office wanted to acknowledge that, but it was too much for me. And I was like, I can't do this. So I hope, even for Nina mentioned that about her husband, maybe he doesn't like public, I don't know, just really evaluate and assess when he is comfortable with it. Is it more in public? Is it more in private? And number 3, master your word choice and usage. Yes. This is a powerful one because a lot of times we need to expand our affirmations that we give people.
That's right.
Right? Oh, well, you look nice. Okay.
Yeah, be specific.
Be specific. I like you. Oh, I noticed you have, I noticed those shoes. They really look nice on you. Or, oh my gosh, I really love your hairstyle. Or I really love your glasses. They're very stylish. Be very specific, but also watch your word choice, because sometimes you don't want to say, watch your tone, but also watch your choice words, because they matter. I'm just going to say that.
No,
They
absolutely.
matter.
And again, it's about understanding it's about understanding your spouse or your partner. It's about making sure that you are being watchful of the things that, as it relates to some of the words and how they respond to them, you know, and being mindful of that is going to be a really important part of being an effective giver and receiver.
Because culture plays a big role in language. Culture plays a big role. You know, if I walk in the room and, you know, Walter's like, oh my gosh, you look thick. And like, I'm trying to lose weight. Like, is that a good thing or is that a bad thing that I look thick in them jeans? You know what I'm saying? So culture plays a role. We use a lot of slang in the American language. We use a lot of idioms. So yeah, we really have to make sure that we are mindful of those things.
Absolutely. And of course, we know in the professional world, you can't just run around calling somebody sexy.
Oh
you know,
gosh.
and again, like that may be good with your partner, but in the professional world, that may lead to a whole nother different set of challenges. So expand your vocabulary and make sure that you are diversifying your word choices. Listen, y'all, this has been a really, really powerful episode. Hopefully you all have enjoyed it. Also, remember, we are practitioners. So if you are trying to improve the relationship with your partner or with the most important person yourself, be sure to reach out to us at Couples Academy and schedule a session. All right, so thank y'all so much for tuning in to Before I Do. My name is Walter Jennings.
My name is Charmaine Jennings.
Like, share, and subscribe at couplesacademy.com, and we will see y'all next week on another edition of Before I Do.
Welcome to the Couples Academy app. The Couples Academy app is your go-to hub for how to do marriage right. Get started with our app today by perusing our amazing features that conveniently allow you to connect. This app is packed with powerful content and resources to help you grow and stay connected. With this app, you can watch our messages, find marriage resources, watch, listen, and read the real-life stories of restored couples, sign up for events, read articles and blog posts, stay up to date with push notifications, share your favorite messages via Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, or email, and download messages for offline listening. For more information about the Couples Academy app, go to couplesacademy.org.